Hey, this is Lorraine Francis, and today we're actually going to walk you through one of our design processes for one of our great projects, which is the Cambria in Mesa, Arizona. So I thought we'd kind of like share with you some of our experience of how we actually create a project from the beginning to the end and kind of more of our design development. And so we're going to kind of show some of our presentation, we're going to show some of our palettes, and then we're just going to talk about like how we develop story, because that's such an important part of what we do. So usually we kind of do a lot of research on what's happening special in Mesa, Arizona. So to us, it's really about like finding those little tidbits of something kind of special about the area. So usually we go out with my team out there and we kind of go look at different aspects of it that are important and relevant today. So I think, here we actually went out to Mesa that has this beautiful mountain and has this most incredible sunsets, and really was a great opportunity for our client to really look at ways to invest an extra money into doing a rooftop terrace so we could really see this beautiful mesa and get the sunsets over it. And this area is like exploding. So there's this like giant new data centers going on over there. So it really has been a growth area on kind of eastern Arizona, eastern Phoenix, Scottsdale area. So for us, it's like seeing all that, and then how are we going to make that kind of a special place to bring in the local residents, to bring in visitors, for the guest experience. So we kind of start writing our story about Arizona and kind of like really taking in, like to me, about the desert. The desert's so special and the desert's so quiet and there's so many brilliant colors out there. And we were out there kind of when it's like a little bit of bursting with colors. So that really kind of took that thing of like, a beautiful flower color, a beautiful palo verde, a yellow, kind of things that actually just really enhance the whole finishes so you really feel like you're somewhere special. And then we really kind of take this to the next level and really decide what our concept drivers are for each project. So for this one, it was about juxtaposition. So this change of colorable, like the summer monsoons out there, and also to the monochromatic palette that actually develops. So kind of that whole, that positive, negative juxtaposition is a really important word for us on this project. And then we like to look at immersion. So immersion is really just like the historical, the geological, and just kind of like the touching of the mountains, the layerings on the sandstone that's out there. So those are really important colors that we found inspiration from. And then this idea of exploration. So actually, for some reason, we were there and there were all these like four-wheel buggies or dune buggies that were actually going out into the desert. So this whole area of kind of this eastern and Mesa, Arizona kind of was quiet for a long time, and it's sort of exploding out towards the mountain, but there is still really a lot of natural elements out there that you could still get out to and explore. So those are kind of really the starting points of what we're looking at. And I'll just kind of move forward in some aspects of our presentation, because then really our presentation has to do with the brand, and we work on kind of the boutique brand of choice, which is the Cambria brand, which is a newer brand, and I think we've just opened our 74th Cambria in the United States. So really understanding the brand, kind of their pillars. So they're all about concise details, the subtle textures, this captivating comfort. And that one's really important to us because really we're all about affordable luxury and for guests to feel comfortable when they go and experience a hotel and have a great stay. And then really having these like purposeful pieces, these kind of little artifacts are just beautiful things that we kind of, tell stories about. And really this curating this connectivity, because you kind of go to a hotel to meet people, to hang out with them, to bring more joy in your life. And also we like the crisp contrast, the contrast of textures in some of our elements, but also kind of having like pops of color and stuff like that within our palette. So I'm going to move forward to, we'll go back to the presentation. So really kind of this whole sense of place with Mesa, and we'll kind of run through that. But I think what we also like to do is really kind of understanding our comp set. So a lot of times we take this from star reports to kind of know what our client is actually, what's competing in the area and what we're dealing with. Here they have a little bit more select service from the Hilton Garden Inn to the Hyatt Place, Home2 Suites. So we don't really have a lot of competition in this boutique market until you really get to Scottsdale and Phoenix area. So we just kind of take pictures and we kind of go through some of the other ones that are out there. In the Phoenix area, there happen to be two other Cambrias. There's the Cambria Phoenix downtown, which kind of it's in the art district, and it really has an incredible art collection, and it's really vibrant over there, but it's very different from our area. And then we were looking also at a closer one, which is the Calabasas Cambria, but it was one that our client really liked. So we wanted to use that as a place to kind of get some inspiration for where we wanted to go with this hotel. And I'm just going to fast forward a little bit to, then we kind of look at some other really great hotels that are in the area that are not a Cambria, but things that we aspire to. So there's a Tribute Hotel there. There was the West End Phoenix downtown that kind of had a new renovation in their courtyard area. There was a Central, which was in Old Town Scottsdale, and that was kind of a fun property. That's all more residential, but we kind of took some inspiration from that. And there was kind of like a little bit this rise uptown in Phoenix, which is kind of a new area called Uptown. That had really a great cool vibe, cool outdoor area, beautiful garden. So we really wanted to kind of bring in some aspects of that. And then the Moxie Hotel down in Phoenix Tempe area that had some kind of fun spark moments. It's a little more industrial. We work on some other Moxies. So we're trying to be a little bit more upscale on the boutique side. And now we'll kind of fast forward a little bit to some other kind of elements. We work with the architect on this. So this is the site plan for the site. Our hotel is located in front of this building, but as you could see in the far distance, you could see some of the mountain views that we're really going to take in. These are shot on a wide angle, so you're not really kind of getting that beauty of the mountain that's close by. And then we really like to start to tell more this lobby and lounge and really like things that inspire us. So I think this kind of what we're seeing on screen right now is really this colored tone, this quietness, this kind of sense of beauty that we want our guests to really feel throughout a space, and feeling this sense of quiet and really the tranquil aspects of, I don't know, somehow like winter in the desert is like an amazing time, and it just really is quiet, and the sunsets and the crisp mornings are really beautiful. So we wanted to bring in some of that thought. And it continues into like bringing in colors. We like kind of this idea of, simple curving forms, kind of the top with the lanterns with the lights coming down. That's kind of an inspiration for one of our screens that we're going to be working on throughout the space. And then kind of going into some more inspiration of bringing in this lightness, and kind of because some of the properties there I feel a little bit dark. So I think we wanted to kind of bring in this light, a little bit of this Mexican kind of feel, this casualness. It's really kind of a beautiful space. We have some fireplace areas, so these were kind of more for the rooftop deck that we kind of share with our client, and the pool area kind of having this little bit of sense of fun. And then also this is actually our first floor plan. So we kind of, come in at the entrance, which is the bottom of the plan, and we come into our check-in area and then our reception desk. And then really with the Cambria brand, really come into seeing the bar is right in the front, and then we go through some nano walls in the back, and then go to a fireplace area, and then you take a left to go over to the pool. So it really is kind of a really open environment that's really beautiful. And I think if we kind of look over here at some of the palette, we could see, so we have actually a porcelain tile that's throughout the whole space. And then we're kind of playing with some different fabrics that are going to be part of, the different wall covering, the different furniture items out there. We're kind of playing with some of this terracotta in this little scallop shape for the front of the bar. And then we're also kind of playing with a little bit of a Mexican tile, but a modern feel towards it into some of the flooring, some of the specialty areas. And then we also kind of brought in, we were talking with this manufacturer earlier, but this is something that we love from Porcelanosa that, is not real stone, but it looks so great. And that's going to be some of our bar top and actually some of our other areas. We're bringing in some laminate, but we're kind of bringing this pop of kind of this rust kind of color throughout the space. And then we also like to have like little pops. This is kind of on a stool throughout there, kind of bringing in, a little bit of the horse and kind of playfulness. And then we have some countertop areas, and also I think this is another part of the bar on counter areas that we're kind of doing that. And then we always like to bring in a little pop. So sometimes we have a little decorative tile that will be on the floor just to kind of outline where the chairs are. So these are kind of elements that we're going to be incorporating. So it kind of brings in a lot of the sandstones, but these pops of colors, natural to bringing in the Spanish influence in a modern context. And this is kind of more mostly the public areas that we're going to bring in there. So I'm going to move forward to some of our kind of a little bit of a blow up of, I think we go to look at the plan on screen. So this kind of shows more of our check-in at the entrance, kind of going to a lounge area. We have a little bit of a marketplace in the front, and that goes into the bar and then moves to the north of the plan to another lounge area before it goes outside. And then, we love selecting FF&E. So FF&E is a really important part of our vision for the project. So we actually like to kind of bring in like things that are, this was more particularly to be natural, and also bringing in the curves that you could see on kind of our images where we have this little, pop of with that little horsehair or the natural fur, which is really kind of fun. So, but it's really kind of bringing in a little modern texture to be upbeat, to be fun, but also really durable. So, a lot of hotels, furniture has to last about 7 years in a lobby, so we really need to make sure our furniture is durable and it's going to last and wear well for all different body types. So that's really an important item for us. So let's go forward and look through some of the other presentation. These are some details kind of in our bar, FF&E, trying to get this element of, not so much bringing in the horses or kind of the cattle that were out in that area, but kind of these leather straps and the detail and into the lighting where you really kind of get that kind of, that fun throughout the space. So this is some of the palette that I was just kind of showing you in display. And then what we're really, we really like to go into 3D really early on to really understand the space. So we take everything from CAD, from the architect, we brought it into a Revit model for us, and we really get to understand the sense of space and the heights. We had some ceiling constraints that were only about 9 feet, so we just had like limited ways to pop down or pop up to get some 3D within that space. And then this also looks kind of back at the bar area from the front door, and then you could see through to the back vestige of the space. Right now, actually, we're working with this client, and we're working to get, these are actually 3D models professionally rendered, so we'll actually put texture on it so it feels real. We're putting people in this week, so we should have these done in the next 2 weeks, hopefully. So that will kind of be another thing for our client to really understand. Because I think actually, what's tricky is sometimes, a client can look at a plan and they don't really know what it's going to feel like. So I think these 3D renderings or wireframe renderings really help for them to understand the space quickly. And then I think when we get further along, kind of doing the final renders is important also. But it's a beautiful, it's a tight little lobby space, but it's kind of fun. And, we just had a lot of fun with kind of the light fixtures and some of the screens and some of the elements throughout the space, and kind of, adding a little bit of curve on the columns and kind of the banquettes that are going to be kind of dividing spaces between it. Another view, this is from the reception desk, kind of looking over to the right for a little living room area, and to the left for the bar area. And then where we kind of had those fun screen on the far left, that will be kind of screening where the elevators are going up to the guest room. So I think what's kind of great with the Cambria brand, they really like to have a guest really kind of walk in the door and know where everything is. So they know the bar is there, they know the little lounge is there, they know they have a little meeting space, and they know where the elevators are. So it just kind of takes everything out of it, with also knowing where the marketplace is, if they need to get a little ice cream cone or whatever at the end of the day. So it kind of just makes it just really open. And actually what's great about it's also, it's a boutique hotel, but it's kind of easy on staffing, which is a really important element today for a lot of developers, of worrying about staff and having less people there to kind of take care of our property, just because staffing is a little bit tricky right now in the current marketplace. And let's look through some of the other parts. That's kind of looking towards the back again. And I think with kind of these also quick white model renderings or line renderings is we can kind of create a lot of views quickly to kind of see what we're looking at throughout the space. And then we get to understand the ceiling heights, where we have conflicts. And then we work with like the mechanical and the electrical and the plumbing engineer, and we work with the architect on this, and also dealing with some structure, because this one we also wanted to keep the space to be wide and open, limit the columns. So we had to kind of do a couple of things with the structural engineer to kind of make that happen in order to create that space. This turns into the back pool area, so I guess could kind of go out into a fireplace area, and then the pool area is to the left. So we have a little bit of a Baja shelf. Oh, sorry. This is the fireplace area. So also just extending some of the fun indoor FF&E out into the outdoor, still bringing in those curved elements throughout the space. And this goes a little bit more into the pool. So we're bringing kind of a newer color, a pop of this green throughout the space. So I think if it's actually more rooftop deck, we'll go. Yeah, so this is some kind of fun pool colors. So we're also bringing a little bit of this terracotta color back into the pool deck and the outdoor area. So that kind of brings the indoor and outdoor, melding it together throughout the space. And then actually we have a really great, so this is the fireplace on the first level. And this is kind of looking back into the inside. And this is kind of our great pool. These we won't have Christmas trees like this, but it's just kind of part of rendering. So those will be all kind of a bougainvillea wall, and we'll have these beautiful palm trees within there, and these cabanas kind of floating throughout the space, kind of different views. And then actually these rooms are going to be a little bit more standard. We actually are using a little half the prototype, and then we're doing a couple of custom features, but we won't get too into those. But I think what's really special about this hotel is we have this rooftop deck. I'll go back to the plan there. And the rooftop deck is actually kind of special because you come up from the elevator lobby, go right up there. There's a communal table. We have a bar. We kind of have a seating area. And then we brought a fireplace into the far left area. And then we're using some also, some screening elements, bringing in some planting. And then bringing in some trellis because obviously it's very hot out there. So we're kind of playing with some misters that actually work well, and that, because a lot of misters don't work well. So we're working with some different manufacturers and having some great umbrellas out there so you can really kind of get through that. And this goes back to some inspiration for us. So some of the trellis ideas that we like on the top far right, but just getting those expansive views and kind of having that fire element throughout the space. And this goes into more of the palette, so we're bringing in a lot of the strapping and elements for, just kind of for punch throughout the space. We'll look at the palette here on the right. So we actually are bringing in some of the pavers that are for, because a little bit sometimes you have to have a raised deck, and why you have a raised deck is so that all the furniture is level. So when you have a raised deck, then actually all the furniture is even. You're not kind of going towards the drain. So it's a little bit more of an upgrade, but we're going to do some kind of fun checkerboard panel with these two tiles. So these are actually like, I don't know, 24 inch by 24 inch tiles. They usually are pretty thick because they set into a raised platform. And then we're bringing in kind of green elements and a little black and white for some of our seating areas. And then these are some of the tiles that we're going to play with on the front face of the bar. And then we're using this beautiful kind of terrazzo tile with these punches of terracotta, black and the green for the main bar top area. And then these are actually just kind of something fun. This is kind of a little bit more of an interesting tile that has a herringbone, which is going to be on the back wall in the bathrooms. We have some vinyl that kind of is kind of a little bit of a detail of kind of this kind of, fading from dark to lights throughout that space. And then we also have some other beautiful tile that feels handmade to kind of bring in those green elements throughout the space. And then we also have kind of more, this is another tile, still also a solid surface from Decton, but it's natural, has a little bit of grit to it, and that will be the countertops for bathrooms, in the restrooms. And then coming back to the presentation, that kind of shows the palette we just talked about. And then once again, it goes back to our views. So kind of looking at the views that we have overhang to really deal with the sun issues. And then we're going to have, some communal spaces. And then we have some different kind of seating. Because I think also a customer really wants to have a different experience each time they come there. So if they're coming there as a group, they could be at the communal table. If they're coming more intimate, they can be over by the fireplace area and then kind of have a little different shading. So I think it's really important to come back to a property and kind of see it different each time. So that's what we kind of love about kind of creating spaces. And that's kind of another view of our rooftop deck and our fireplace area. So we actually created these dividers for having some planting. And I think it's kind of, the desert is so dry, but a lot of things do grow really well there. So I think, the more plants we could, add to the space, that kind of adds a little bit of color and a little different texture for different times of the year. And this is kind of our, the typical Cambria new prototype architecture. So we're kind of just looking at that. And and the guest rooms. So we have a lot of different guest room types. Actually, sometimes people don't know that it's kind of that. I'm going to go back to this one. Doesn't want to go back. That's okay. Cool. So, but even just kind of knowing that, a lot of different room types are really available for different types, from a double queen to a king bed, and kind of having the different lounge areas through there. Cambria's new prototype, they're really trying to get this angle so you feel really open when you walk right into the room. So, but really this is kind of a semi-custom that we really want to tell a story about Mesa, Arizona, talk about design, talk about different textures, keeping it really fresh, which we really like. So we just wanted to share this journey with you. And we have a couple of new projects to kind of show you that we've been working on and we're really excited about for this year. So we'll keep telling you about different stories and different things and different sense of places for everything we're creating over here at Cadiz. Thank you guys so much.